Hello, hello. Good morning, and thank you for joining today's live stream. It is part 6 of the reading of The Great Taking. Let me just make sure that I am working on all channels. Um, Thanks for your patience with me this morning as I get to all the channels and let's see. So, what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks is I have been reading David Webb's book called The Great Taking. And
That's
I,
what I was trying to think of.
oh, okay, speculate. And we speculate on this platform, but unlike us, David Rogers Webb actually has has more than speculation. He has facts to support the idea that there is a great taking place in society. Um, so please give me some feedback and let me know if things are streaming, if things are working on your end. Um, there we go. Yeah, looks like I'm good on Rumble, and it looks like I'm good on Rockfin. Um, and I'm probably streaming on Twitter right now as well. So one of the things that I had asked JP yesterday at breakfast was what are the number one issues? Is it free speech? Is it the COVID pandemic slash vaccine marketing campaign that's been deployed on us by the military through these chemical and biological warfare tactics? Is what's the most important thing? Is it the lack of meritocracy, the great divide? What is it? Which one is it? Is it the climate hoax, the fact that they keep, that we're being told that, there's climate emergencies going on and that we need to look within and feel shame and guilt over the climate? Which is it? What's the most important thing? Is it the the talk of war, between Ukraine and Russia, or between Israel and Palestine, and all of that? Like, what's the most important thing? And his response was, well, it's basically all of it. And that's what's different, I guess, about this platform is that we're systems thinkers. So we're thinking in terms of like, you know, a more uh, well-rounded approach to this. We're not just focusing in on behavioral modification programs, or we're not just focusing on uh, vaccine programs, or we're not just focusing on one issue. We're looking at all of these disparate issues and putting them together and synthesizing an idea around them. And that's why we created Book of Hours in the first place. And then we wanted to synthesize this information creatively through video essays, which is what we did for quite a few years, and what I'm still doing um, periodically here and there. So that's kind of an introduction into who we are and what we're about. Before I begin the reading, though, I like to share new things that I've discovered. I like to share new information, or at least new thought patterns. And one of the things that, in going along with that question that I had asked my husband yesterday, which is, which of these, tragic stories is it that's the most important? He was like, well, it's all of it, because, we're systems thinkers and everything's connected, right? So I wanted to talk to you more about systems thinking. And I ran across a conversation that a popular YouTube channel was having with a woman by the name of Roz Nelson Cook. She's a psychologist from Australia, and she articulated so cohesively and so well the depth and the broadness and the depth of this military campaign. And so coming from a perspective of deep psychology and the fact that she ran her own practice and worked in many different capacities, and then lost her license because she was questioning the or pushing back against these narratives, not in the ways that you and I push back, but in a clinical psychological way, like going to her board and or going to her her practice and saying what we are experiencing is not right. These are mass psychological warfare programs that are being deployed on an innocent population. So, and through this experience, of course, she lost her license, but through this experience, she's also discovered the different types of people that have responded to the last 4 years of our lives. So, first, she talks, and I'm going to play portions of this conversation in no particular order. But the first thing I want to talk to you is about, or that I want to show you, is what she talks about systems thinkers. And this is something that JP and I have tried on various occasions to impress upon our followers that we're systems thinkers. Um, So let's see if I have the um, right link here. I think I do. Let's see. Okay, so I don't think I'm showing you the right screen. I'm sorry about that. So let me go back a little bit and see if I can share the right screen with you. Sorry about that. I think I was pulling up the wrong video. It's hard because it's from the same piece. So let me just make sure. Okay, try this one.
Serotonin transporter genes that are implicated. I used to work with a subset of the population that are differently termed as highly sensitive or have differential susceptibility. Have you heard of this sort of area of research?
No.
Do you want me to talk about it, or are we going on too long and need to?
Just give us a quick couple of minutes, yeah.
A quick couple of minutes is basically about 15 years ago, just like Darwin and Wallace, who came up with their theory at pretty much exactly the same time. There were different groups of researchers who came across this same theory at the same time. Some of them were working with children, some of them were working with mosquitoes. I mean, it was extraordinary. What they found is that, again, they have different numbers. So I call it on average about 12.5% of the population, and that's all the way down the phylogenetic scale, are highly sensitive. And what that means is, because people get a bit upset and they're saying, oh, you're saying I'm emotionally sensitive. No, it's environmentally sensitive on various ways. It means people respond. There's more plasticity in their response to various situations. There's various explanations. The one that sort of intuitively fits right with me is that it's sort of a speciation event, similar to the way we would consider a canary. You know, we'd put the canaries down the coal mine, right, to see if things were dangerous. So these highly sensitive people it's a for better or for worse situation. So if you put them into good environments, they flourish. They are the top percent of musicians, of intellectuals, etc., etc. If you put them into a highly stressful environment, they go the other way, right? So they fall apart. They end up drug and alcohol problems across the board. But the theory goes that the speciation, the reason genetically we're still here, is because our job is to go out and seek new fields, as it were, just like the canary. So if we go out and we find a new environment that's highly safe and a flourishing environment, then we do really well. So then the pack will follow. And if we go down the coal mine, it's horrible. So no one follows that. But the way I sort of see that relating to what's going on at the moment is that it is the job of the highly sensitive phenotype to scan the field, to look at everything. And really it's a piece of system thinking, right? It's an ability to see the field. It's an ability to look out and hold more variables in mind and consider how they are going to affect the organism and whether ultimately they're going to be safe or not. So in this instance, they're seeing all sorts of things that are highly unsafe. So
Okay, so that was Roz Neelan Cook, a psychologist from Australia, and she was talking about systems thinkers. And the reason that I played that clip is because we are, JP and I are systems thinkers. And so that's what makes it a little bit more interesting on our channel than other channels where they just focus on one particular aspect of a situation. Just bear with me here for 1 minute. I'm trying to get there we go, trying to get my screen back so that I can see what I'm doing. On your end, things look normal, but on my end, I'm struggling. Okay, so let me see if I can find another portion of that particular interview that I find interesting, that I think you all would benefit from.
health professionals, all sorts of people really on our side, whatever you want to call it, who are so frustrated with these people and think they're either stupid or complicit. But having that window back into that world really reminded me, and it's critical for, I think, people to understand, is they're not stupid or complicit. They have no idea. And if they do hear, I think one of the mistakes that we've made, and I've certainly made it myself, was right back at the start, we would just send all this information to our friends and our family because we wanted them to know what was going on. We would try and send them all this data. But again, when people are highly psychologically defended in the face of a potentially enormous existential threat, they can't process a lot of new data. So even if you manage to get a tiny bit through a crack, what will they do? They'll go to Google, yeah, or they'll go to Facebook. And there again, they see, these people are crazy anti-vax conspiracy theories, just stay away, they're dangerous. And on it goes. So
you might even go to a fact checker to check the facts.
Right. Thank you, Reuters, or all of those friendly news initiatives. I know. And so this is one of the pieces. For me, the most important piece is psychological awareness. Until the whole playbook that they've used is a psychological playbook. And so until people understand the psychology of what's going on, it's really hard to see a way out of this mess. And I do struggle, and I've mentioned this to you previously, John, and I've said it publicly, and it doesn't often make me popular with a lot of those in the truther community, as it were, especially the medicos. This is not a medical debate. It is a medical debate ultimately, but ultimately it's psychological. We have to understand how people got where they were and how people ended up with the opinions they did. Because we have a lot of people who, let me put this in better words. If you're in a situation where you are in those two football tribes, where you're highly divided, whether it's about COVID, whether it's about gender, Ukraine, climate, it's all the same thing fundamentally. If you have intelligent people who are holding a very different position to you, until you understand the psychology and can look at how they have come to the conclusion they have come to, you're never going to get anywhere. You're just going to keep seeing them as some sort of opponent.
So I'm going to stop there, and I believe at this point she goes on to talk about something called the Sally Ann test, and I'll share with you the Wikipedia page for that. This is where the here it is, the Sally Ann test. So this is where you say you're an adult in the room, and you are trying to teach a child empathy, or you're trying to teach him to think more like a systems thinker, and less self-motivated thinking. So you show the child two dolls. There's Sally and then there's Anne. And you say, okay, Anne, put a box of chocolates in a box. And Sally saw it. So Anne put a box of chocolates, or put a bar of chocolates in a box, and Sally saw it. And then Sally walked out of the room. And when Sally was out of the room, Anne took that bar of chocolate that she had put in a box and she put it in a basket. And then Sally came back into the room. So you would ask the child, where does Sally think the chocolate is? And the child would say, well, Sally thinks the chocolate is in the box, but I know it's in the basket. Basically, what this psychologist said is that we as adults presently in this situation, we are failing the Sally Ann test in droves. And this is a lack of ability to apply empathy into your conversations and learn where the people who are holding a different viewpoint than you, why they came to that conclusion, what brought them to that place, and how it is that just because you know that the bar of chocolate has been moved into the basket doesn't mean that Sally knows that yet, because Sally was out of the room for information that you were privy to. You see what I'm saying? So children are taught that when they are, troubled, or probably oppositional defiance disorder, which is, that new term that's going around. You teach them empathy by giving them this Sally Ann test. And unfortunately, adults are failing it. So I thought that was really interesting when she brought that up.